More magic for Boston College football on their second official visit weekend. And even bigger news, Father Leahy is on his way out.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. So, today's episode, we've got two big things we need to talk about. We need to recap the second official visit weekend for Boston College football. What happened? What did we learn? What are we still waiting for? I'll give you all that news. And then we're going to wrap things up. Father Leahy, after 28 years at Boston College, is leaving the school, or retiring. He's stepping down as president. We'll get into all that in segment 2 and 3. So, official visit weekend 2 happened over the weekend, starting on June 7th on Friday and ending on Sunday. You've seen the kids putting up their social media pictures. You had 12 kids on campus, 12 recruits that were taking their official visits. Many of them had already taken official visits elsewhere, but hadn't committed yet. They got to Boston College. And from the weekend, what we learned, there's 2 more commitments from the group that was here this weekend. If you saw Spencer Dickhouse, the general manager of BC, you saw his tweets. There's 2 more. You follow Jonathan DiBiaso, the quarterbacks coach. You saw one of them has a lot of speed. Now, as I've said on the show, I know who they both are. And I hate going on the show and telling you, hey, I know who it is, and I can't tell you, but I'm going to keep reiterating this. That I am not going to ruin a kid's moment. That is not my job. I don't feel good about doing things like that. But I'll tell you this. I like the 2 kids that they got. They've got 2, and one of them definitely has a lot of speed. That both have Power 4 offers. They have good offer sheets. They are good commitments. I think they're both going to be end up ones you guys are going to be happy about. So that I think that's what I'm going to leave you with here, folks. And you can yell at me in the comments. Hey AJ, why do they not say anything? But again, I want to tell you guys why we have to wait. There's reasons why we wait. 2 reasons why we don't know who it is and why we have to wait. Many times, recruits need a couple days because they're putting together social media packages. They like to do that. It's kind of part of the deal with being a college football recruit, whether you like it or not. They want that custom graphic from like Hayes Fawcett or whatever his name is from On3. Or, they've got some of them have friends that do it. Other ones, I mean, there was one last year, I forget who it was, but they had a whole videographer doing things for them. So there's things like that. There's also reasons like sentimental dates that these kids pick, right? They pick like, my mama's birthday or my, it's the anniversary of the time I caught my first time, whatever it is. I want to get it done the Friday before the start of my senior season. They do things like that too. That's why most likely you don't usually see a ton of kids commit immediately. Like you'll hear from me or other writers like, oh, there's this guy coming in. And then you find out later who it is because they kind of drag their feet with it, right? So there's 2 more. So what I know right now, and it's been quiet from the staff's perspective of, what's going on. There's 4 commitments that have not yet announced. So BC has 4 guys to add to the 8 that have already committed. So they're at 12. There could still be moving parts. The 2 that I've been waiting on, one we've been waiting for a while, and and it makes sense why we've been waiting, and I'll explain it when it happens. The other one, I'm not sure. I honestly don't know why he's waiting, but that's going to put you at 12 commitments. Um, and that leaves you where your class is at. Now, what's really fun is to see which recruits are becoming your like mini recruiters for your class. You see it every year. You see a guy that just like it's his role to kind of take it upon himself to get these commitments, these recruits to come and stay. And this year, the one that I'm honestly kind of surprised it's him. Not for any reason other than one of the more recent commitments is Micah Amity. This defensive lineman out of Xaverian Brothers. He is all over social media with these commitments, other kids that are coming on campus, working to try to get them to come to BC. So he's a kid, a defensive lineman that I've heard great things about in terms of his play, but he's also obviously he loves the idea of what BC is going to offer to football players from around the country. But he's also taking a leadership role here too, so that's pretty cool. Now, there's a couple players like Robert Smith from uh, St. Joseph's High School in Ohio. He's an offensive lineman. There's, Samaj Fleming, a wide receiver. Ray Sykes, a defensive back. Some of these guys don't have any more official visits lined up that I know of. So these might be guys to watch for, right? They might be guys to keep an eye on. There's also guys that just connect with the staff and they may cancel their other visits. You never know. But in terms of that, that's the news there. I have not heard of any guys that were here the first week that took more official visits that have committed yet. Joshua Gurrier was at Wisconsin. There was a few other guys that I saw at taking other official visits. It seems like it's quiet, so that's good. You don't you don't want to lose your guys on week 2 of official visit season. So other than that, it's quiet. It's pretty quiet. And I'm interested to see because where this goes. So you're at 12. You're looking to get a class of close to 25. Um, how many of these kids that aren't making decisions yet are you going to nail? Right? There may be a guy later in this week, like you don't know, like that has a great connection with Bill O'Brien or one of the coaches, ends up committing on a Tuesday. It could happen. It happens all the time. So that's just some news there. Now, in a moment, I'm going to switch gears because school wide, one of the biggest stories of the year was announced on Friday news during a Friday afternoon news dump. We'll get into what that was in just a moment. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. You're not going to find the best candidates. You got to get on LinkedIn, folks, because 2.5 small businesses are using LinkedIn for hiring. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Locked on BC. I'm your host, AJ Black. Now, I was going to get into a whole episode on recruiting when I was planning out on Friday what I was going to do on Monday. But the biggest Friday night news dump or Friday afternoon news dump happened on Friday. Now, I was just busy cooking dinner and I get a text. I was like, "Hey, AJ, uh, I'm hearing buzz that Father Leahy's could be stepping down soon." And I was like, "Yeah, I've heard that from before. I've seen, Twitter people posting it all the time, right?" Hour later, the press release hits my desk, and I'm like, "Wow, Father Leahy," they announced, is going to be stepping down after 28 years as president in the summer of 2026. He gets a 2-year leave, farewell tour. So, what does this mean? Like, Father Leahy had some ups and downs as president. Obviously, I'm not going to get into the academics because this is Boston College sports here. I don't care about whether he built, new schools or, there's now an engineering program or whatever. I don't follow that. That's not my business. That's not my lane. There's probably people out there that will write about what he did academically and for the growth of the school from that perspective, but you're not going to find that here. I'm here to look at the athletics part. And I think it's a very mixed bag. On the one hand, he was there with Gene DiFilippo when BC made the decision to leave the Big East to join the ACC. That was a smart move at the time, right? Like, you can look at it now and with the issues with the ACC, but you can't argue that the last 15 years that BC has been part of the ACC hasn't been a positive for the Eagles because they avoided falling into the traps of what happened with UConn, where you're left as an independent with nowhere to go. That, I think, was good. And I don't know how much he had to play a role in it, but I imagine he played quite a bit. You know, the there were all sorts of buildings built at BC during his time that he was I'm sure he's as president an integral part of them being part of the school, right? The Fish Field House there, for football practice. There's, the basketball practice facility, the Harrington Village for softball and baseball. Um, there's all that kind of stuff, right? He's been part of all of that. So in that sense, it's a positive, right? But the negatives, what are the negatives from Father Leahy? Well, I look first off at the stipend debate. If you remember about, what was it, 10, 12 years ago, the NCAA was wondering if beyond scholarships, they should be giving stipends to players to help them cover other costs as being a student. It seemed like a slam dunk for most schools to say yes. In fact, every other school in the ACC, and I believe every other school in Power 5 football said yes, except for Boston College, which made BC look like it did not paint the school in the best light. There was that. There's obviously also been the lack of progress in the school in the last 15 years in their two major sports. While you can say that women's lacrosse and hockey have been excellent, and you've seen other programs have flashes, whether it be field hockey or baseball or whatever, basketball and football have stagnated. And a reason behind a lot of this is because they're not getting the financial backing to do the things that they need to do to be competitive in the ACC. You had, for a long period of time, was it 8 years of Frank Spaziani and Steve Adazio. So you had one coach who was completely inept in Spaz, and then you had another who was basically a 500 coach, and then you followed it up with a nice coach in Jeff Halfley, but another 500 coach. But the bigger problem with all of that, you can blame all the coaches you want, right? Like the head coach, the dime stops with them. That being said, you talk to people in the know about college athletics, and the overall money put into these programs is not what it needed to be at that time. And that, again, dime stops with the president. Like, the board does stuff, the president does stuff. Whatever the case may be, you can parse it whatever way you want. The programs under his watch as president went from perennial top 25, and in credit to him, he was there when those started, to falling off a cliff. And no answers up until this past year, when I've heard that the pool of money put into football is much more competitive, and what should have been a long time ago, right? So he's part of that problem too. And I think when you look at what happened, it's that there was times where he had the foresight, like the ACC, right? But there was way more times Father Leahy in charge of the school was about 5 years behind the trends. He never was on top of things. He never was pushing the program. You always hear about the BC, the we're a school of excellence, right? He never got to like push this program by infusing good money into it so that you could be competitive during his last 15, 20 years. It didn't feel that way. And I don't think there's anyone out there that can argue that he did. So in that sense, he did start to he was integral in hindering the future of BC sports. Now we're sitting at a point, and I'm going to get into this in our final segment, where the next president, they're going to be at a crossroads where they need to make a decision on how to get BC back into a more competitive mind frame when it comes to college sports. I'll get into that in just a moment. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets. You can bet on anything from the NBA Finals to who's going to hit one of the out of the park. Visit fanduel.com/locked on to get in on this. Now, if you're watching the Red Sox and you're watching them struggle, you may find that there's a player, maybe it's Rafael Devers, that you just want to get that home run odds, the one game home run odds, because you're just feeling he's going to get on one of those heaters. You get into FanDuel, you find those odds, you get in, you win, you can keep following on that. For basketball, we got the Celtics and Mavs. We're about to head to Game 3 in Dallas, and I'm recording while the game's going on. But maybe you're feeling Dallas is going to get some mojo going when they get back home. Get that money line. You can do that all on FanDuel. With FanDuel, you got to visit fanduel.com/locked on and add a big win to your summer bucket list with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. This is Locked On BC, AJ Black. We're talking about Father Leahy retiring 2 years. Now, some folks have been wondering, why is this taking 2 years? And I can tell you what the process is going to look like. And you can argue that maybe the process is taking way too long, and I can't argue against that. But here's what we're looking at. This fall, we're going to start hearing about potential candidates. And they're going to get those candidates whittled down in the next 6, 7, 8 months, right? And they'll have a selection by the end of the 2024-25 school year. Then you're going to get a whole year that person's basically going to shadow Father Leahy and learn the ropes from the guy who's done it for the past 30 years. That's what, on paper, what they're saying. And I get it. Like, if you really want, like with Father the last president, excuse me, they basically, I saw someone saying that they did basically the same process. If you're going to have someone run such a multi-billion-dollar um, organization, you might want to spend the whole year learning the ups and downs of a year, right? So I get that. It's just it's a long time. Like with the way college sports is moving at a rapid pace right now, 2 years is a long time left of Father Leahy. You're hoping that maybe they make that decision faster so that they can get that new person in a new mind frame on college sports soon. But BC's not doing that, so we're gonna have to wait. So what does BC need? You need to get back a president like Father Monin before Leahy that understands the importance of college sports and not just the athletes are great and blah 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 blah. It's part of a well-rounded education, whatever. You need a president that wants Boston College to be on the map, that wants to make them a winning program again. And not just wants to make them a winning program, but is willing to do whatever it takes to get to that point. Because you can say it, and if you don't put the money into it, it's all lip service. Who cares? This president, if they think this is important, and I hope to gosh they do, they're gonna want to be able to open up the coffers a little bit. BC is a rich school. No matter what they say, they have a huge endowment. They have a lot of money. It doesn't take a whole lot to up the money that you're paying so that you can attract bigger coaches, that you can buy, that you can basically get players here. I mean, I hope this new president stops with the admissions nonsense that keeps good players out of here. Like I hear about it all the time with the transfer portal that it's just impossible at times. That's a big issue, and that's something that this new president's going to have to deal with. But then you look at this giant picture of college sports, where things are at. The view of Boston College right now, they have a lot of work to do to scrub the last 15 years, the mediocrity of football and the bad basketball that we've had, and get this program back up so that if there is conference realignment, we're not left behind like UConn. We're not left, with no TV deal, and we'll become a have-not instead of a haves. That's gonna be you gotta. I think of this whole process of where BC's at, and this issue that's come up. I'm sure if you ask Father Lake, he thinks he puts in enough money. But if just look at what other schools are doing, and it's not enough. It isn't. He can say what he wants, but what he's done has not been enough. And the things that he has done, like credit that there's stuff there, it's all been too late. This new president can't do that. You can't wait 5 to 10 years to catch up to other programs. You need to do it now. So you need a forward-thinking president, someone that understands the landscape of college sports and knows that BC has some things that can be beneficial in finding a seat at that table. They do. Boston's a big market, but if your team stinks or plays, sub 500 ball and no one wants to watch it, it doesn't matter. But if you are able to pay for coaching staffs, pay for, like look what they're doing with Bill O'Brien. They brought in a killer strength and conditioning coach, and they upped a lot of their game there. That's what you need to see on a bigger scale at BC. So that's why you have to kill this new hire. My choice, I'm gonna say it right now, is the name I've heard, and I when I heard him retiring, it was the first name that popped in my mind. Jack Butler. He's a Jesuit there, but he loves BC sports. And I think right now, if you were telling me who they should hire, I would love to see Jack Butler there. I think he would be a massive, a great guy to get this school moving forward. So that's just my thoughts on it. I don't know what you guys think, but I'll be back again. If BC gets a commitment, I'll be back on tomorrow. If it's not, I will be back on Wednesday. I'm sorry I have to keep doing this, but things are quiet right now, and I want to, I have my 3 days a week right now for the next month or so, and I'm going to take those days because I got to take care of myself before this 2024 season, because we're going to be going 5 days a week again soon. This is AJ Black. Follow me on 247 on Twitter. Everywhere you get your podcasts, hit that like button. Give me 5 stars. Tell people about Locked On BC. And I hope to see you again soon for another episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.